Oh, good morning, everyone. This time we're just looking at assessing an image for meaning. We've basically done this before in class, but I just thought I'd be more specific with some of my own notes, and hopefully this will work. Just see if I get the technology here right. Yep, it's letting me do it. Sorry about the little circle there. All right, we're going to look at, first off, we're going to look at two famous film posters. I mean, one of the main ways that you become aware of films is, watching trailers, word of mouth, of course, if it's a really good one or a bad one. People will tell you to not go and watch it or tell you it's really bad. These two films are both Jaws and the one we're looking at further down, which will be, what's it called? Star Wars. I'll take off the draw with touch. But anyway, let's have a look at the Jaws poster first off. I'll take this off and I'll just bring it up. You can see how it's, I'll just make it smaller. There you go. Now, the first thing I've indicated is the title itself, Jaws. It's unequivocal, which means it's absolutely, totally clear. It contrasts well with the white in the background. And you can't really go wrong with the meaning of it. Jaws, the word, Jaws, the thing. And of course, what makes this work is a sense of great balance. Look at the way that this vector line, formed actually by the shape of the shark's head, is aiming towards the unfortunate girl in the opening scene. But like I've asked you to do before, it's not just looking at the image, but it's also looking perhaps at what the creators of the poster have used in terms of words. I'll just change colour here. And look at these words that are being used here. You've got terrifying, bestseller. All those words indicate that they want you to go and see it. This is trying to be very, very persuasive, isn't it? And then you've got these wonderful, look at those wonderful teeth. The shape of those, they look like individual daggers or kitchen knives. This is not going to be pleasant. You know that. And you can see how the shark comes out of this depth of black water right at the bottom there. This was an iconic poster. We call it an iconic poster or an iconic piece of work because it's become like an icon to that particular film. It's so famous that all we've got to do is look at that image and know that we're talking about that very, very famous Hollywood motion picture by Steven Spielberg. It was one of his first films. And of course, very, very successful, and it helped him move on to bigger and better things. Although I shouldn't say really better. If you look at Jaws today, your generation, you'll probably think, oh, it's a bit rubbery, the actual shark. But things have moved on, and he, actually, of course, as you probably know, he was the first one to experiment with CGI with Jurassic Park, which I think still holds out really, really well. Almost, almost 30 years later. And he's got, of course, the famous actors. This is a pull factor because Robert Shaw, Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss were very, very famous and well-known actors at the time. And this, of course, is a fairly standard inclusion in movie posters. The details of the production, who else is in it, who wrote the screenplay. In this case, it was Peter Benchley who'd written the novel, Jaws. It's got the rating there, PG, etc., etc., all the details that you'd need for a film. So what is the meaning that's actually created in this poster? The image creates the meaning that the film is, well, you should be able to work that out, but it's suspenseful. Excuse my writing. Suspenseful. Oops. It's going to be, it's basically a horror story. It's essentially, even though it's a shark, it's made to sound and feel and be accepted as or be seen as a monster movie, really. Also, it's it's meant to be frightening. I will one day get a pen for this board. I'm sorry about this. I know that you're into neatness yourselves. So all of those things work to give that poster elements that you can draw meaning from. Overall, of course, let's not go too deeply here. It is a poster which advertises something so that you'll go and see it. I'm sorry that's such a mess, Year 8, but that's the way it works with me, I'm afraid. All right, let's have a look at this one here, the very famous original poster for Star Wars. I'll just minimise this. And it's not going to let me write. I'll just reopen the big one. Draw with touch. We use a different colour here. Go for red tools, colour and thickness. Go for red, and we'll go for that one there. Okay. This is a very, very famous poster. This was the first one. Released in 1977. Some of the things that give it away, I would suggest, were the script font. It's a very, very 1970s script font. I don't even know what that's called. You might be able to look it up. For those of you that are Star Wars fans, you'll know that the receding Star Wars, see how it's drawn in perspective? It's going towards its own finishing point. That's really, really important because it echoes the actual beginning of the film. Echoes the scrolling storyline that Lucas uses to introduce you to the story and the characters and what's happening in a really basic way. At the time, this was absolutely cutting-edge, high-tech filmmaking, even though he used really, really old-fashioned ways of achieving that. Beautiful model making, great costumes, an interesting storyline, and characters. Characters are everything in this film. Look at these iconic characters. There's that word again. Iconic means that they've become so recognisable, even to people who may not have seen the film, that they'll recognise at least some of the characters. If you showed a kid who might be, now 12 or 13, if they hadn't seen the film, they'd probably still see that as, they'd know that that was Darth Vader, not BV, but DV, Darth Vader. Luke Skywalker and his blaster, even Han Solo. There are some other characters like old Ben Kenobi or Obi-Wan Kenobi that they might not know, but they'd all know. Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2. These are recognisable elements. That means that you can look at them and know exactly who they are because we've become so used to them, because the advertising for Star Wars, even just recently, of course, for the newer movies, the newer films, has been what we call at saturation point. It's like heavy with these posters and other ways of advertising it, trailers on YouTube. But it's got its own channels on, it's got its own pages on Facebook, etc., etc. Things have changed. But in the 1970s, when this was new, this is what mattered. People saw it. People wanted to see it. There were interesting things in it. What is that? No one knew what a lightsaber was. These interesting ships. It looks like a boy's own adventure type idea. But interestingly, having said that, look at this. I'm going to be really, really stereotyped here and use pink. Carrie Ann Fisher as one of the heroes in the film, one of the central characters, if not the central character, in some ways, is a girl, a very strong character, strong woman, and she really makes the film proceed in some ways. It's her story and linked up with the story of, eventually, of course, Darth Vader himself and Luke Skywalker and the trusty sidekick companion, tough guy, Han Solo. All of these things make this poster work. It actually works at a couple of levels. If you take away all of these things that I've said and done, if you remove all of that, you're still left with a poster which is just full of visual meaning. The black background, the stars in the background itself, and everything in the middle looks like it's exploding out of the centre. Look at the vector lines that we're looking at. We've got Luke in the middle, and then we've got receding just slightly behind him. You've got the other characters in that sort of pattern, and looming over them in a really nice balanced way is Darth Vader overseeing the action and the development. And one of the central plot points, you've got this horrible machine, the Death Star, which is kind of linked. If you see that point and that point, it's a nicely balanced poster. It looks like, you know, two objects of about the same size in the background. It's the literal background of the story. And it's also promising lots of action. The screaming spaceships, a battle of some sort, an explosion in space, lots of weapons being used. In fact, every single one of them featured in the main part of the poster has a weapon. You've got, I better change colours here, otherwise it's going to get really confusing. I'll try to go to, how about we go to yellow for this bit. You've got Han Solo's gun blaster. You've got Luke's blaster looking directly at you, at the viewer. You've got another blaster to balance Han Solo's on the left. You've got Carrie Ann Fisher's Princess Leia's blaster, and you've got the dreaded Darth Vader, the Emperor's lieutenant, using his very, very powerful lightsaber. Even those words, I don't have to explain that to most people. They know what a lightsaber is. It's invented the language. All of these things help to create meaning in that poster. You should be able to do this with your own. So what I'm going to suggest is I'll find a couple of other posters for you, and we'll look at it in a momento. Get rid of that. Drop this. Drop all of this, and we'll go to that poster. Drop that. How do I do this? Maybe I can't do it. What I'll do is I'll stop the recording for now. I'll just. Okay, thanks guys. I'm back. I know you were desperately hoping that I'd be back soon. Is this letting me draw? Yes, it is. Okay, this is another famous image based on a sculpture. Well, it's the image of the sculpture. The original was lost, I believe. It's in some famous museum in Europe. I think there's copies of it, but this is a Roman copy of a very famous ancient Greek statue called the Discobulus, or the discus thrower. Let's have a look and see how you can look at the way that the artist, the sculptor, has created the meaning behind this. This is what we call very, very realistic or naturalistic sculpture. The Greeks were into the perfection qualities of the human body. No one or nothing represented that more accurately than a fit, healthy Olympic athlete. This sculpture shows the perfection, in some ways, of the human form, the muscles, the abs, the youthful face, the healthy head of hair. Very enviable, of course, from my perspective. You can even see the wonderful use of these details of the veins in the hand and the arm, the grip he's got on the discus. The aim originally of the discus throwing competition at the time was to get this disc and to lob it over onto a little island or a rock which was off the coast. The meaning, of course, is the beauty and the perfection of the human body, you know, the musculature, the gracefulness, that sort of lovely S shape that he's given it. And it's a very, very famous piece of work. You're going to do this soon. This recording's about to end, but we'll get on to another.